Okay, so no, this is not the same gear that I was wearing in my true story review.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
This is anyways, um I'm broke. No, I'm just playing.
Why the fuck?
This review is for the most recent Netflix movie called Red Notice. It stars Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. And overall, I'm just gonna put it out there right now. Red Notice was good. It definitely checked all the boxes of being a heist movie. Main reason why I say that is because it had all the twists, it had all the betrayals, it had all the random things that you've come to, expect from a heist movie. Because it is a heist movie. It's a Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot heist movie. But the main thing that I focused on throughout watching Red Notice was the fact that they made Dwayne Johnson a vulnerable character. That is something that I applaud heavily. This is why I'm giving Red Notice a much bigger, I'm just giving Red Notice much bigger praise in regards to that film, because you don't get to see Dwayne Johnson play a human much. And by means of human, I'm talking about somebody who, is capable of being hurt, is capable of dying, is capable of not being the strongest guy in the room or the most capable guy in the room. The reason why I really like that is because it's ever so slightly a different take it's ever so slightly a different way of seeing Dwayne Johnson than we normally see him. Typically when we see Dwayne Johnson in movies, he's a big profile, a big guy who, all he does is big things, and he's the hardest worker in the room. And, don't get me wrong, I know my Dwayne Johnson. That's why I call him Dwayne Johnson. I don't call him The Rock. To me, he has evolved beyond just being The Rock. When I was a kid, he was The Rock. But now, being in this industry myself, I feel like it's much more well respected to call him Dwayne Johnson. Coming up from seeing him, again, be this huge, high profile guy, big buff, and, just doing all of these crazy over the top films, it's great. And, of course, that's where the real money is. But seeing him do Red Notice was such a breath of fresh air for him, because you get to see him, you get to see him be a little bit more vulnerable. And I'm not talking about on an emotional level. If you want to see an emotional level of Dwayne Johnson being vulnerable, watch Gridiron Gang. I would say watch Gridiron Gang. That's a great way to see, Dwayne Johnson play a role that isn't extremely high profile. And it's one of my favorite Dwayne Johnson movies. But for Red Notice, I'm talking about his persona and physical vulnerability. When he, throughout the film, Dwayne Johnson gets his ass kicked a lot in Red Notice. But it's great to see that. He is vulnerable. He can bleed, he can die, and nothing is promised in that regard. Outside of that, by means of performances, Dwayne Johnson did great. Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Reynolds was Ryan Reynolds. His performance was good. He was Ryan Reynolds in a heist movie. A lot of it was all right, you got Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. That's the dynamic. This is the movie. Go. So that's why I say it didn't break the mold, because it wasn't something completely random and weird and crazy, as opposed to Central Intelligence, with Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, but again, I feel like Ryan Reynolds, I love Ryan Reynolds, you know what I'm saying? He's another big inspiration for me too. Killing the comedy game, killing the action game, being Deadpool, which I think is just like literally the role that was made for him. You know, Red Notice again, you know, he was Ryan Reynoldsing. So, you know, no mold broken there. Gal Gadot, I think also did a great job as well. You know, I don't think she did anything that was extremely standoutish. But, you know, her playing the role of, I believe her name was Bishop in this one. You know, again, I think she did a great job. I know her mostly for her work as Wonder Woman. You know, I don't really get to see her play anything outside of that. And this was like charismatic, like, you know, she got to be a little bit more charismatic than Wonder Woman typically is. So that was cool. I think she was great though. You know, she was great. She was great in telling the story. And the biggest thing again that I think was the best was that they checked all the boxes of being a heist movie. And for that, I'm just like, whatever. But the twists, some of the twists genuinely surprised me. There was actually some genuine twists that happened throughout the film that surprised me. And I was very happy that they were there, because like otherwise it would have been a by the numbers like heist film. One thing that really helped with that film was the fact that all three of them seemed to be they seem to have a very specific dynamic, and it's something that was needed to carry the film, because I feel like if it would have been anybody else with that specific type of script, it wouldn't have worked. So I think a lot of what Red Notice relied on was their profiles. Like there couldn't be anybody else that played the master thief that was Ryan Reynolds' character, or Dwayne Johnson's character, or Gal Gadot's character. And the fact that I'm even calling them their characters rather than their actual character names, that tells you that, like, you know, they weren't too far off from being who they were in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Dwayne Johnson was being Dwayne Johnson in a heist movie, you know what I'm saying? But again, it was a vulnerable Dwayne Johnson. That's the key part of all of this. I feel like this is actually something that they're starting to do a little bit more with a lot of these movies, is switch it up on us a little bit. And what I mean by switch it up, they're starting to create these scenarios and these stories that allow for actors who have big profiles of being a very specific typecasted type of role. They're starting to change that and make it something to where it advances the story if it's a twist in their persona. Like I said, there was a lot of genuine twists and nuances that really actually made me laugh and made me enjoy it even more. So again, altogether, Red Notice was a great movie. You know, didn't break the mold. Well, you know what? Maybe instead of saying great, I'll say it was okay. It was an okay movie. It was an okay movie. The performances were great. The sound was good. You know, the music, all of it's just blase. You know, what you've come to expect. But some of the twists in that movie would still have me recommend Red Notice. I would recommend seeing Red Notice because you want to, if you're a Dwayne Johnson fan, you want to see how the vulnerability that Dwayne Johnson has in this movie changes the story in a way that's less predictable. Because otherwise, like, you know, in a lot of these types of movies, Dwayne Johnson movies, Kevin Hart movies, things like that, they can get predictable. You know, unless you have really badass writers. If you did like this video, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell for more notifications on all of our videos. Leave a comment, you know, letting us know what you thought of Red Notice, if you got to see it, if you didn't get to see it, why ain't you watching it, you know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a blessed one to the next one.